Hey folks, this is Bailey from Dank Wargaming.
Hey, this is Heath with Team Table War Hawaii.
And welcome to The Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast. On today's episode, we have a special guest again. This is Adam Camilleri. I said it right, correct?
You did. You nailed it.
Yes. Let's go. Adam needs no introduction for anyone who listens to 40K Podcasting. He's a regular host on Forge the Narrative, Frontline Gaming's The Thursday Show, and is affiliated with the Art of War team through his own podcast, The Art of War Down Under. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Dude, well done remembering all the things I do.
It's not like we don't have a script. But yeah. So
nice.
Yeah, I mean, we on a recent episode of Forge the Narrative, I heard you talking about how you're calling the shot. You're going to make a hobby goal of being the #1 Dark Angels player for the upcoming 2022 season. That's right?
That is correct. Yeah, I've kind of set myself... I like setting myself goals every kind of season. The last two I haven't been able to because of COVID. There was no point trying to.
Yeah.
So this is kind of just putting myself up to it. It's more not more of me telling it, aggrandizing myself. It's more like me just putting it out there that that's something I want to do. And now that I've said it on a show and people listen to it, I've got to do it. So.
Yeah, I mean, It's in the fine tradition of Adam Abramowitz, right? So, hey, I mean, no way other than just say this is a thing and hold yourself accountable.
So the very first content I ever made was a show called Gaming Against the Grain. And it literally was inspired by Adam Abramowitz, who's a really close friend of mine. And the whole purpose of that was to play what I conceptualized as the worst army in the game, to try and get better at the game and be a better person by playing the worst army, which was the first 8th edition Space Marine book, playing Black Templars out of that.
Oh,
so
interesting.
I played that for a full season, trying to get better at the game and be a better person. It was a good time.
Nothing's gonna make you grow like struggle.
I'd never gone 3-2 at an event before. I'd never gone worse than 3-2 in an event. I'd never gone 3-2, 4-1, 5-0, 4-2, whatever. And then my first event with Black Templars, I went 2-4. And I was like, oh no. Here we go.
There's clearly room for growth here. There's clearly room for growth.
Yeah.
So
starting at the bottom.
All right. Well, so why? What brought you to 40K? What brought you to the hobby?
The death of fantasy. Like many, I was a hardcore competitive fantasy player, and then they blew it up. The maniacs, like Planet of the Apes, pounding my hands in the dirt. But I was 40K curious before that. Which was in the midst of 7th edition, and so I just made the transition then. I jumped straight into 40k when fantasy died, because I had that competitive oomph in me and it needed a place to go.
Fair enough. Why Dark Angels?
I did not start off with Dark Angels. I started off with Imperial Guard. I started off with Astra Militarum. I played them solid all the way through 7th and the first year of 8th, and then I transitioned over to Black Templars, and then Black Templars to Dark Angels. I've pretty much been Dark Angels kind of the last about 2.5, 3 years. But Dark Angels, because I am a huge heresy nerd as well, and they're my heresy legion. They're my heresy chapter. And in fact, all my whole Dark Angels army is painted heresy colors as well.
Oh, nice.
So
that's what I've heard.
I've even got my own little narrative around it as well, if we want to get into that.
I think I've heard you say that like the lions come back and he's like, what's with this green? Like green doesn't look good on you boys. Like
can I swear? Yeah. Can I swear on this show?
Yeah. We'll bleep it if we need to.
Bleep it.
So the lion wakes up and he kills like the first four Dark Angels he sees, because they're wearing green, and he's like, "What did you think I was going to do? Like literally the guys who put me here were wearing green, and like black. Change it all right now." And so yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So what's made you stay with the Dark Angels then? Is the heresy, or like what attracts you to them from the rules wise?
Rules wise, I find them to be they fulfill all my little slots as a gamer. I can play SKUs in many different. I can play many different SKUs just with Dark Angels. Dark Angels is really kind of like the most well-rounded of the chapters. Like Blood Angels, cool. You are just Blood Angels. Space Wolves, cool. You are just Space Wolves. You're just Space Puppies. Dark Angels, no. I am Greenwing. I am Ravenwing, I am Deathwing, I am so much more than just a straight up and down linear smurf, thank you very much. So yeah, that's kind of the thing I love the most.
there's 3 different ways to approach any problem, and like I guess we've here on the show we've tried the fire wing thing. Like, hey, just run a whole Phobos army and call it fire wing.
Yeah.
It didn't work super well, but maybe there's something to it. But yeah, no, that's what attracted me to it as well. Like, there's 3 different paint schemes. There's 3 different solutions to every problem, and you really need. That's why I think the Dark Angels are more complex than basically another Space Marine chapter. Is that you've got 3 codexes in one book.
Yeah, exactly right.
So,
the initial thing that attracted me to them is that I went and won a bunch of events in Australia because I was playing guard, and all I did was take 3 Talon Masters and add it to my guard list, and then I was like unstoppable for like 2.5 months, and then I was like,
you cheeky bastard, yeah.
Maybe there's something to these Dark Angels, and that just ran into me. Just now, I'm a Dark Angels player.
Fair enough.
Oh, so that would have been back when you could mix.
If you're aiming to be the best Dark Angel.
Yeah, that was mid 8th edition, like right in the middle of 8th edition.
So if you're aiming to be the best Dark Angel player in the world, well, first of all, I mean, you're already starting from a very high level of play, right? You're very familiar with the game. You call all these games. You see more 40k than almost anybody. So what do you think it's going to take you to get there? Just broad strokes.
Consistency. See, the issue for me, it's actually going to be quite difficult for me. And in saying that, the likelihood of me achieving it is actually quite low because of the fact that I stream so much. So you can't win and compete at big events when you're the commentator at big events. So
Right.
that means I probably don't get to play an LVO or any frontline, the vast majority of frontline gaming events. So that means I need to get on my bike. I need to travel to other places, work in other arenas that aren't my place of employment. I guess they're not where I work. So I think that's the biggest thing most likely I will not get to compete at the biggest events. That means I need to do exceptionally well at smaller events.
Right. Okay,
so
that's
that
interesting
means,
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's so GW events now count for ITC points. So you're looking to attend like the GW direct sponsored events.
Certainly.
Okay.
I mean, if GW ever come knocking and want me to stream their events as well, 100% I'll be doing that. But yeah, at the time being, I'm not part of that stream team. So if they, I'll be competing there. There's a bunch of look. America's quite crazy at the moment. The amount of you can go to a major every weekend if you want. Like you can go to a 100-player event every weekend if you want. If you're willing to buy the plane ticket, which is a phenomenal thing. The other thing I need to do is just get consistent with the army. I mean, you boys probably got your finger on the pulse as well. You know, we're not winning majors at the moment. There ain't no Dark Angels build that's going to crush the meta, especially with the advent of Tau more. I guess Tau more than Custodes. Yeah. We're actually not too bad in Custodes, but Tau more than that now. Who knows what Eldar's going to do to us?
Yeah. I have a feeling it's not. I just bought my the finest plate of Eldar, charcuterie I could this morning, and looking through it, it looks good. So, yeah. Okay. Well, in that case, what areas of your play specifically do you think you need to improve on?
So it's despite being an analyst and watching heaps and heaps and heaps of games, I've played relatively few in the past 2 years. Of course, no one has. But comparatively to comparatively to a lot of my peers and a lot of people I need to compete against, I'm still nowhere near them. Like for those who may be tracking my journey, I was staying in the Art of War house in Florida for the last kind of 2.5 months before I came to Mexico, and I mean those guys play more games in a month than I had of 9th edition up until the point that I came to America. They just smash it out, and so that's the kind of muscle memory I need to establish. In addition, I need to I am too risky with my play is the best way of saying it. I like risk reward plays, and
that's tough for the Space Marine army. Yeah, because Space Marine. Yeah, you don't have a lot of assets, and so you need to expend them very carefully and at the pivotal moments.
Exactly right. In addition, it's the risk reward kind of stuff. I like big plays. I like making big plays. Funnily enough, Dark Angels are quite good at making big plays, but the meta is not forgiving to that, especially with these current missions. So I need to iron out my consistency. And funnily enough, Dark Angels are I believe, and we'll probably get into this, is possibly the best secondary army in the game, or at least in the top 3, your secondary game is as good as or better than the vast majority of the field. So getting the best out of the opportunities that we've got for scoring is what I'm looking to do.
Okay, let's dive into that real quick. So we talked to Charlie Andre a couple weeks ago, who is a very high-performing Dark Angel player.
Oh, yeah.
Potentially your predecessor is the #1 Dark Angel player in the world. He placed 14th at LVO with like the Oops All Terminator list, and he had some stuff to say about secondary selection for Dark Angels that was very contrary to the common wisdom of like take Stubborn Defiance, take Oath of Moment, right? Take banners, right? Just play. Like he's like, nope, I don't do that. His style of play is you move forward, you take Stranglehold, right, and you play very board control. So how do you see that comparing to with the new rules with GT 2022 for how many secondaries you can take?
So he's absolutely right. By the way, there's nothing wrong with taking your Stubborn Defiance, your banners, and your Oath, but you've got to be the right game, right time. So he's probably taking Stranglehold to the last and maybe grind because he's playing all the bricks. All he needs to do is get 1 kill a turn. The likelihood is he doesn't lose a brick a turn. He's going to end up with 9-12 points. And Stranglehold, bread and butter. Where that's the right call is that initially we looked at this book and we said, well, this is just an incredible defensive posture. Just grab 2 objectives, sit there. You're going to get 40 on your primary. You're going to get 45 on your secondary. Who cares what they do? Thing is, the game got so much faster, and because you don't interact with your opponent, they get to line up all their best stuff on you. They just get to line it all up, and then they just disrupt your primary for 1 or 2 turns, and you've lost because you're not influencing their score. You're just doubling and tripling down upon your own, and so you leave yourself wholly exposed. So his way is far better. Take away the score from your opponent whilst having a ridiculously good score yourself. I'm trying to have it all right now with my builds. I'm trying to play. So the big addition for Dark Angels was the fact that it's not so prohibitive to take a Psyker anymore, like it was when T-Suns and Grey Knights were quite prevalent in the meta. They've both dropped off quite a little bit with the advent of the latest 2 books. Okay. So taking Warp Ritual, taking Investigate Signal makes a lot. Psychic Interrogation makes a lot more sense, and we just so happen to have one of the best Psychers in the game in Ezekiel. So
sure.
That opens up a whole new playbook for us. Takes a lot of the pressure off from having to take Azrael, having to take a Chapter Master or a Captain, because he can give you Righteous Repugnance and that +1 attack for the grindy combats. Beautiful thing. In addition, he can just get you to the middle of the table. Then on top of that, you take Investigate Signal, Oath of Moment. You're going to get 45 there, and you're going to be doing the body blocking, getting in the way. Take Stranglehold if you want. Take banners if you want. Take whatever you like as well. Take to the last. And then as soon as you add those 2 plays in, you add the Investigate Signal play, you add the Warp Ritual play, we have a plethora. You can make if you make the right list, you can have legitimately 9 to 12 secondaries that it is viable for you to play at any one time, and that is hugely powerful. Picking the right ones and then playing them correctly is the challenge.
Right, and that's where the reps come in. Is you have to have my experience as I was in the military for 21 years, and I ran nuclear reactors on submarines. It's all about pre-planning and like understanding down each branch path what you do in the situation, right? So you have to, and the mental fatigue that you spend when you don't have those pre-planned responses will burn you in a game, right? Like brain power costs calories, it costs blood sugar, and if you don't have that stuff locked into memory, like with a spreadsheet, then you run into problems. So I completely agree with you. I'm interested that you say Investigate Signal. That's something that Bailey and I were talking about a couple months ago on the show as an interesting replacement for Oath of Moment in the traditional Dark Angels toolbox. Do you think that's a good play now?
I do indeed. I think there is a great duality of secondaries you can take. You can take your traditional Stubborn Defiance to the last, banners, Stranglehold, whatever. You take your traditional, I'm going to sit on the backboard and get all my points against some people, but then you can build the duality of, I'm going to build in the pressure of, I'm just going to reach the middle of the table, which gives me the leapfrog ability to go and influence your primary, influence your backfield, whilst just racking up points after points. And what it does as well is it puts the onus on your opponent to disrupt your points, but not in such a heinous way like it is when they disrupt Stubborn Defiance. Oh, cool! You
lose everything.
Out of the 12, out of the 15, I'm probably going to get, and it costs you your best units to do so. Yes, please. Yes, please come get some. I'm happy for you to come and try and grind into my Deathwing units. That'd be fan-freaking-tastic. Thank you.
So just to keep driving down that, so Investigate Signal and could potentially be combined with Oath of Moment or Stubborn Defiance, and the Warp Ritual also has to be done in the center of the board. So you're thinking, okay, I'm going to build my castle with Deathwing Knights or Deathwing Assault Terminators that are just okay. You throw everything into this, you're just gonna stop. That's what you're what the tech you're thinking of.
Yeah, right now. So it's not even that crazy investment of points. Right now I'm switching all my assault terminators to just all Thunderhammer Storm Shields. I don't particularly like Lightning Claws in the Custodian meta. They don't do a damn thing. So they're all dropping off. It's all Thunderhammers and Storm Shields for me. And then just a Ravenwing, Apothecary, and Ezekiel. And if they just make it to the middle of the table, that's 45 prime. That's 45 secondary points for those 3 units if they make it to the center. The issue is I've found, and this is another spicy thing. How do you score Investigate Signal turn 1 if you've taken an Outrider and you've taken a Vanguard? Because you can't take a single infiltrating unit and nothing moves fast enough to make the middle. Because the bikes can't score it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where I am at the moment. What's the way to? Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of those things. Like it could be dependent on the mission, right? So if you're in a mission where you could potentially have a way, like if you line up on the board edge and can just move to the center of the board with a good advance roll, I don't know. That is something more to follow in the space. Like I said, you've got a year to figure it out. So
exactly right. And we're going to go through a lot of meta changes. Going to go through a lot of iterations. I will get my ass handed to me, probably on the regular, and then I'll have some triumphs as well. And it's all about the journey.
Yeah. So as far as the Psychers go, I once again, I love Ezekiel. Play with him all the time because I love Righteous Repugnance and throwing that onto a big unit of Assault Terminators or Assault Intercessors. It just, I roll buckets of dice. I reroll all the buckets of dice. They put out a lot of damage. I've always been a little shy to take my super high end Dark Angel Psyker and turn off all of his casting to do Warp Ritual. How do you feel about that?
That's not amazing, but that's the kind of price you got to pay. He is what, 125? I think he's 125 points.
Yeah, that's about right.
So yeah, he's not crazy expensive, but he's not cheap either. And so you got 3 powers, and I'll tell you something. If you guys, for listeners at home, those powers are really good.
Yep, they're all really good. They're all really, really good.
You've got a 4-way rolls to hit and wounds. You've got a fight last, and you've got to turn off. You can turn off obsec and stop actions, and those are the 3 powers you have to give up in order to do the action. And most of the time, it's worth it. And you know when it's not worth doing? When they've pushed enough stuff into you that you have to respond. But see, if you get a 12 on it, if you get a 12 on Warp Ritual, you're happy. It's an okay to get 12. It's okay to get a 9 in some games as well. But having the ability to go get the 15, should Ezekiel make the middle, and they do. The only times he's going to need to cast is if they try and do something about him. Apart from that, he's just going to walk ritual. Or you can do Psychic Interrogation, whichever one makes more sense to you. Like if it's Knights, maybe Psychic Interrogation is better, or a couple of other niche examples, like they've got a couple of Dread Knights or something.
Crusher or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, exactly right. But mind you, if they're taking heavy psychic stuff, you probably don't take the psychic. You don't take a psychic secondary. That's just kind of playing into a losing situation.
With the Eldar changing, maybe we could talk more about how the upcoming changes to the meta with Eldar coming up. But why not take an Inquisitor to do your Warp Ritual? 45 points Inquisitor, and then Ezekiel can do his thing.
Absolutely right. It's totally an option as well. I'll definitely 100% be looking into that. There's also a couple of other things they do, like Cody adds some more jank on top of that. So does Eisenhorn. So yeah, you might be onto it. As this right now, I just like the fact that we don't have to take too many characters. One of the biggest issues I have had with making Dark Angels lists is just really not wanting to spend too much on characters. So another thing I've started doing is dropping off the Ancient. I've stopped taking the Ancient, the Blade Guard Ancient, the -1 damage banner. Which feels weird, but I just hated having like 6-7 characters. Looking at my list totals and being like, I really don't like spending 800 points on characters, because you've got Azrael, you've got your Apothecary, you've got your Talamaster, you've got your Chaplain, and all of a sudden you're like, I can't in good conscience expect to win a game when so much of my army has no board presence.
Yeah, Charlie was pretty adamant that without all the buffs of the Apothecary and the Ancient, the Deathwing aren't survivable enough. How do you feel about that?
That's because he was taking fisting Stormbolters on everybody, wasn't he? He was taking all Darkabots.
He had some of those.
He had a mix. He had like his 2 or 3 Assault Terminators. I got his list pulled up right over here, so I figured this would come up. But he had probably 2 or 3 Storm Shields in each of his squads, and the rest were pair Lightning Claws. Yeah, basically had no shooting in his list.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So yeah, if he's maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. But right now, I wanted the 85 points. Just
Okay.
But he didn't.
I'm not going to sit here and say he's wrong because he's not. He's done so well with that.
Well, and he only had 4 characters too, because he had He only had 4 characters because he had a Chaplain, the Apothecary, the Ancient, and a Deathwing Champion. So he didn't have like a Chapter Master like a Samael or Azrael and a Psyker, and he only had 1 character in the HQ slot.
Yeah. And while I that's one thing. Like I said, I've never loved about Dark Angels, because I don't know about you guys. I still love One Talon Master. I still think One Talon Master is Barbider's Gaze. Maybe you take Rites of War. Phenomenal.
Yeah, hard not to like that. Yeah, really
175 points though. It blows out that HQ slot. Those points.
It's sometimes like moving away from the conventional wisdom. Like one of the things I found when the first one of the Psychic Awakening books came out, and everyone was like, well, for Dark Eldar, you can't, like, if you want to do the new traits and get your Dark Technomancers, you have to move away from the usual Prophets of Flesh, and that forced me to do other things that I had never considered. I looked at things in the book that I had never used before, and that was actually, I found stuff, having to go out of my comfort zone, that was really powerful. So maybe you're right.
Yeah, I do love his cheeky little Deathwing Champion. I prefer the Raven. I way prefer the Ravenwing Champion. I love the Ravenwing Champion, to be honest. Do you guys ever used him, given him a go?
Yes.
I have.
Go ahead, Heath.
Nice.
So my problem with him was I didn't think he was survivable enough, because he doesn't have an invul save in close combat, and relying. So when I took him, I would usually put the Armor Indominus on him to get that activatable invul. But yeah, having a the source of reroll charges is real good. And
so maybe I was doing something different with him then, because I was terrifying people with him. So what I would do, I'd Blade of Triumph and Imperium Sword, and then turn 1, if I was going first, I'll give you it never worked better than this. Probably never going to work better than this. I go first, turn 1 against Admech. I scout move him up. Move him is 17 inches because of Dev Doctrine. Charge the guy's a Skitarii Marshal that is giving him out his all his buffs. I also got the grenade launcher on it, so I hit a unit of 20 Skitarii with the grenade launcher, charge in, kill the Marshal, and tag 20 Skitarii and pile into his second unit. He doesn't have feigned retreat anymore because I killed it. So you can't kill him back. One guy has to fall back and can't shoot. The other one can't fall back at all. And I won the game. Nice. It's never going to do better than that. It's a lot of CP, but it just flat down the game was over. Like, the game was absolutely over. Yeah.
The best one that I had was I was playing one of my buddies' Orc list. He had an Orc War Boss, and I had sort of that same build on the champion, and he left a gap in his like spider legs of his Orc boys to get to the War Boss. Zipped him in there. Killed him because I charged and had fight first, killed the War Boss, and then did the 2 CP to run away and zipped him out of there. And the most important part to all of this is that I'd taken Martial Interdiction against the War Boss because I knew the way that guy liked to play, so that was 15 points right there.
Oh my god.
It was amazing.
Oh my god.
It's hard to pull that off at the high level because someone's like, wait, what? But man, when you do, it's it feels so good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Blade of Triumph. Yeah. It's once again high risk, high reward. And I don't know. I think, Adam, I suffer from the same problem as you. Is I put Raven on the board. I'm like, today's the day. Today's the day I'm going to be KG. Today's the day they're going to be held in reserve, and they're going to come out on turn 3, and they're going to be terror. And then I'm looking like, nope. I'm just going to yeet them forward, shoot the plasma, and then they're going to die.
Yeah.
But,
you mean Deathwing? Yeah. You mean Ravenwing Knights? Black Knights?
Yeah, Ravenwing Knights or any Ravenwing unit at all, almost. They end up getting committed early as a screen. But
I'm actually a fan of a 5-man Ravenwing Knight unit at the moment. If I had them, I'd be taking them to Adepticon. I just like them. I like the duality of them being both a bully unit and a harassing unit, like harassing in combat, bully from 18 inches away, and they're surprisingly threatening to a lot of the current meta, but ridiculously squishy to a lot of the current meta.
Yeah. Being able to pop up to 3 damage and Custodians don't have any damage reduction, so as long as you're able to, there's a couple tools that it sounds like you're leaning away from, but like without the Talonmaster, you can't really get the +1 to hit for other things. Yeah. That's one of the ways to mitigate Emperor's Auspice for the Custodians that turns off rerolls. But no, they're really interesting. Let's say they have a lot of different options available to them, especially in a list with Ezekiel when they are rerolling all hits and wounds. It turns and with Mark for command to put the Heavenfall Blade on the Sergeant. That turns it's pretty good. But like I said, they're kind of they're kind of expensive. Go ahead.
Do you prefer Heavenfall or Mastercrafting the Corvus Hammer? Because I'm in two minds.
I like Heavenfall. I like Heavenfall because of the extra attack. Because I want throughput. The -1 AP isn't quite enough for me on the Corvus Hammer.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's something to that's interesting.
I liked it a lot when my whole reasoning. The only time I ever played it with Mastercrafted was when Orc Buggies were a thing, and I liked it a lot then. And that was pretty much the premise, because I just need more damage 3. And
that's fair.
So when you're looking at your list, do you have like a core set list of units, and that you just have like maybe 500 points that you swap things out? Because we're here talking about lists, or do you just start from scratch every time?
I just start from scratch every time, but most of my detachments are relatively set. Like if I want an Outrider, it starts off with my 1 Arbiter's Gaze Talonmaster and 3 units of 3 Obsec Bikes. That's it. That's how I start all my Ravenwing detachments, and then I build it out from there. And my Vanguards all start with either Azrael, Ezekiel, or Interrogator chap, and then they start off with the prerequisite 1 big brick. The Ravenwing, they usually start off always like this: 5 Blade Guard, 1 big unit of Termes, and the Apothecary, and then I build out from there. My patrol, I've been playing around with the patrol quite a bit, so I don't know if you guys know, but we're in the Art of War house. We tested 10 intercessors into the meta a lot. Like we tested because we found they were really good phenomenally good into GSC, phenomenally good into what John Lennon was running, actually respectable into Orcs, not horrific like we thought they were into Crusher, and they're actually not awful into Tau. Now the issue is Tau picked them up very quickly, and they are bad into Custodes, but I feel like they're actually going to be okay into Harlequins. They're not bad into Dark Eldar already. They're going to be okay into Harlequins. They're going to be okay into Eldar. And that's mostly because I know Webways are going to be big, and I want an Auspex unit. And 10 intercessors with Azrael just seems like a good deal, especially when you want to take a patrol already.
So regular intercessors or heavy intercessors?
Regular intercessors.
Heavy intercessors are too expensive?
Yeah, they're still too expensive for me. And they're not durable. They're just not durable in this meta. Like, it's just, it's too much. You're better off going cheaper and more dudes. Assault bolters, so 3 shots, because their whole purpose is to just clear any meaningless obsec that they've got. So between all you need to wipe out anybody's obsec in the entire game is 10 intercessors and 1 Talonmaster for Dark Angels players, and you'll just smash anything they've got that they're going to hold objectives with, as long as you can see it. Another thing that people might want to consider, Eradicators with Dark Angels. People say, oh no, Eradicators are horrible, they're just Custodes and they won't do anything, and Tau will kill them. Reserve them, bring them on from reserve, pay 2 CP to remain stationary, hit on 2s, kill whatever you want. That's pretty much the way I look at it.
I don't think that.
So when you come in from reserve, you're coming in as reinforcements, and I don't think you're eligible to count as being stationary.
Yeah, that's
I've got it wrong. I figured.
Once again, far be it from me to question those guys, but
I hope you are correct. Because I was bullying people a little bit with that.
Because that's the thing we do with plasma and scepters, right? You drop them in 2 CP, they stand still, they hit on 2s. But there was a FAQ several months ago that basically said, the turn you come in from reserves, you count as moving your full distance, and you can't use any rules that say you don't. Which is why I like Hellblasters and Impulsors.
Oh yeah.
Count as having moved your full distance. Also, you're saying that it's eligible because you're disembarking, you're not arriving from reserve.
Yeah, you're disembarking. You're not coming in from reserves, right? You're not coming in as reinforcements.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I was like, okay, yeah.
It's also where your investigate signal turn 1 can come from too. I would think you have a unit enter an impulsor and you run it out and move it into the middle of the board.
Yep. That is 100% another one of the options.
Yeah. No, these are good things to these are the devil is in the details for sure.
Well, and you'd have to go look, right? If you don't play very often and have a lot of sense, if you're a new Dark Angels player and you go look at that rule book and you go, oh wow, look at this cool combo, bring the guys in, play the stratagem, get all the buffs and shoot. Yeah. And if you didn't have players that played more consistently that do a lot of rulings, I do a lot of TO work with my buddy Chris. So like when we play 40k, it's not about beating the other person, it's about what rule interaction can we create in this game that makes us have to go look up the rules. Like it's something we don't know and we're going to sit here and argue about it in a friendly manner because that's the objective, because he wants to be a better TO, I want to be a better TO, and I think I remember this being one of the things we talked about. Yeah. And I mean, and it's good to talk about because sometimes, you know, these things come up because no one is a true master of the game because there's just so much and there's always something new, and then something gets FAQ'd like this. We were talking about it before the show. I messed up combat squads at my last tournament. I thought as long as you had 2 equal size, you know, like you could divide your squad evenly, you could just combat squad it whenever, and that is not how the rule is written. And I am like, oh darn, well, gotta switch my list for Adepticon now.
Yes, I for a while there, I thought oh my god, I'm just going to take 3 6-man units of Ravenwing Blacks and just split them. And no, you have to take. Well, the jury's still out. Do I take 9 or do I have to take 9 and an attack black in order to combat squad my Ravenwing Blacks? I still don't know the answer to that. But it just goes to show, like there's very even an expert analyst of the game, which people kind of call myself. I get things wrong all the time. Everyone gets things wrong all the time.
Yeah, I said there's nowhere to go but up, right? So just keep striving to keep learning.
That's right. When you're
nowhere to go but up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so how are you structuring your goals for this long term? Like, okay, you know, in January, end of January, early February of 2023, to see yourself as #1, right? To go up on the stage at the Rio. How do you turn that into smaller goals? Like, what's step one?
So, step 1 is to maximize the score I'm going to get regardless of the win and loss, so I'm always top of my bracket. So, does that make sense what I just said?
Yeah.
Let's see, maybe you can elaborate a little bit.
Okay, so the best thing that Dark Angels have is the ability to score points. Their units are fine, their rules are fine. Best thing they have is scoring ability. And what I said at the start, picking the right secondaries at the right time and playing to them effectively is what I want to do. I'm not really so concerned about neutralizing my opponent's score just yet, or disruption, or any of that stuff, or killing ability. I just want to get the biggest score I can, so that no matter what, if I end 1 and 4, I'm the top of the 1 and 4s. If I end
I see what you're saying, yeah.
3 and 2, I'm the top of the 3 and 2 pile, because then I'll know that I'm in a position to progress to the next bracket, the 3 and 4, the 4 and 1s, etc., whatever. Because the whole goal there is to be good enough that a 5 and 1 gets me into a top 8. If you following?
Yep.
Following me?
I think so. So I think this represents an understanding of the ITC scoring system that you have that a lot of us don't. So
fair.
Yeah, no, so that was actually one of the questions we were planning on asking. So a little bit more about how the ITC scoring works, this algorithm you're trying to take advantage of.
Yeah, so you get the scoring in the ITC is based on the number of rounds in the event and the number of people in attendance. So, but you give yourself the best chance. So, and a lot of these big events right now are going over 3 days. It'll usually be everybody plays 5 or 6 games, and there's a cut to the top 16, top 24, top whatever. Now, of course, you automatically get more ITC points than everybody else as soon as you make that top cut and play in one more game than the rest of the field. That's the best way to maximize a score above your peers, and my peers being other Dark Angels players, you gentlemen.
Okay.
So I don't need to be top of the event. I just need to be top Dark Angel at the event, and the best way to do that is make sure I make the top cut. But that's the progression, and I'll be starting at wherever I'm at. I'll play my first couple of events and evaluate. I'll be like, have an honest look in the mirror. Am I a 2 and 3 player? Am I a 3 and 2? Am I a 4 and 1? And that'll gauge a lot of how I need to adapt my goals in the future.
So how many scores can you get in
Okay,
underscore?
so first couple events. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
So I believe it's 4 or 5. I think it's 5 scores to get a max score.
I think it's 5. Yeah.
Yeah. So I need to meet at least 5 good scores at events, and I'm betting that at least 5, like a couple of those will be RTTs, but I want to have at least 5 2-dayers, hopefully 1 or 2 3-dayers in there as well. And so there's a lot of, this will be an interesting thing to unpack if you gentlemen are aware or unaware, but there's a lot of different ways to play into a tournament, and there's a lot of different levels of thinking and of levels of play.
I am all ears. Let's go.
Yeah, so there's the bottom bracket of playing an event that everyone has to do is play the mission, and play the tables that are at the event. That's everybody. That's what everybody has to do. The second level up is a proficiency. So proficiency there is the baseline of anybody. What everybody should be trying to do and work on the most, getting as good as they can at the missions, and there's a trickle down effect here, because the next level is getting as good as you can at your army, and being as good at your army will trickle down, and it will help you be good at the missions, and building those together. It's homogenous and it works together as well. And then there's building for the meta. And there's playing into the meta. And playing into the meta is you have to have a thorough knowledge of what's good at the moment, what you're likely to see, percentages, how big the event is, what region it is, what's big there. And then the top level, the peak, the pinnacle, is when you are so good at the game, you're so good at the mission, at the army, at the meta, that you can plan for the players that you're expecting to see. And that's the kind of where the professional level players reside. The guys that you need to beat in order to win, to be number one. And so you start thinking about the guys who won this event last year, who got into the top bracket last year. I'm going to look at what they usually play or what they've been playing. I'm going to analyze that and see what I need to build to beat them. But you have to be good at all those other levels in order to even do that effectively at all.
You have to be confident that you can get to the point where that type of preparation is going to matter.
It's going to matter, exactly. You have to be in a position to win the damn thing for any of that prep, any of that work to even be a factor. But
this
the baseline is yep.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
The baseline is where I'm at right now. Ironing out my score, getting a consistent, good pick of secondaries, playing the primary appropriately, making sure I'm getting the best score I can, and then adapting my army to influence where I'm weak on the scoreboard.
Okay, so there's something that when you settle this, it drew a parallel in my head to a phenomenon. If you'll allow me to nerd out for just a brief moment,
yes, please.
There's a phenomenon called Bloom's taxonomy. Once again, and this is by a gentleman named Bloom. Obviously, I think it was back in the late 70s or the 80s. But it's an instructional theory. It basically says, hey, the way that people learn is based on, like, there's 6 or 7, depending on which reference you look at, levels of knowledge, right? And the base one being comprehension. I understand that this is a fact, right? And then to move on to the next level, which is to operate and perform operations with those facts, you need to know what the facts are. And from there, you move up and you start solving problems with it. And then you move to analysis, and then you move to creation, where you take all those things. So you have to build the base of the fundamentals before you start moving up. And those higher levels, and that's where real, like, critical thinking is like level 5. Right before you have to have all the tools in your toolbox, and you have to be practiced and experienced with those tools and know when to pull. And then once you have those tools, then when do I pull them out? Exactly. That's when then okay, when do I pull these things out? Now I layer the missions on top of that, right? And I have to be practiced with the missions, and then you look at the matchups, and then So that's what definitely. It sounds like we're talking about something in that kind of framework.
That just gave me PTSD from all my education classes.
It's called Bloom's taxonomy. I said my current profession, I'm an instructor, so I teach people basically how to run nuclear power plants, and that's one of the things I put. I roll it into all of my stuff. Okay, what level of understanding does this concept require? Right, and you tune it to that.
From the Dark Age. Mm-hmm. Could you do that as one of your lectures? Yeah. One of your lectures. The Dark Age.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I don't wear my Dark Angel's ball cap when I'm at work, because I do.
That's sick.
Yeah. So yeah.
And I was a school teacher for 6 years.
So
that's
okay,
where I came from.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's one of the common grounds that we have when we were starting to make this show, was we're both educators. So okay.
That's cool.
So
That's really cool.
let's where do you evaluate yourself on that current scale? Like, I think probably towards the bottom.
I'll start my expectation will be 3. If I'm going to a 5-rounder, my expectation will be a 3 and 2 player in a 5-rounder at the moment.
I think you're an interesting point, because you've got, like, because of your job, you've got that top level knowledge about all the players. So your pyramid's kind of upside down, maybe.
It's totally upside down, man. I wasn't going to point that out because it's just a weird thing. Yeah. Now that I've explained the theory, to flip it on its head and confuse everybody. But yeah, I have it's actually a downside, because I get so caught up in what the top players are doing and what the best players are doing that I, forget to account for T-Suns. I don't adequately account for Orcs. I don't acknowledge that Knights can just run you over on any given day. And I'm just stuck doing in my head in about what am I going to do against Tau and Custodes and Eldari and all this stuff. And so it's a little bit of a detriment. And that's why I think I'm more of, I need to adjust on the fly after I have data, because trying to do any analysis on where I'm at right now, I honestly haven't played in an event in 6 months. I haven't played in a tournament in 6 months because of COVID and streaming all of them instead of playing in them. It's a bit of a detriment.
So definitely,
it's an interesting perspective that, like, all the exposure you get by watching the games has potentially impacted your ability to play them, because you have this decision paralysis, right? I have access to so much information that maybe I don't know what to do with it.
Exactly right. And when you see so many games from a bird's eye perspective, you lose perspective of the minutia, the little micro interactions, transactions, things you're setting up for. And hence I get caught up in the big plays. Like, there's nothing better than 5 Black Knights come out, shoot something to death, charge, kill something, bounce back to safety. And then I measured off by 2 inches, and one guy can't quite make it behind the line of sight blocking terrain, and I lose the whole unit, and I used 4 CP to do it.
4 CP to do it, yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I need to iron out that stuff, or just stop doing it because it doesn't get me the result.
I guess in the data comes from the decision comes from, when is this going to be the right play, right? What circumstances enable this play to happen? And I think that's one of the things that you could potentially turn as an advantage. With the amount of times the amount of stuff you see, is instead of focusing on the big plays, you start, hey, let's not talk about the fancy, flashy stuff, right? Let's look at the blocking and tackling.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose
let's look at the dribbling.
Yeah, my biggest strength I get from all that stuff is the ability to find out ability to know what a list does. As soon as I look at it, I look at a list, I'm like, I know exactly what that's going to try and do to me. Bang! That's the best thing I get from all that stuff. But once again, because I usually am analysing the best lists, I know what the best lists are going to do to me, and then I see some wonky combination of whatever. I'm like, never heard of this. This is going to be bad, and I get in my head, and I've also got ADHD. Yeah. Like, pretty full on. Like, my whole commentary and podcasting has been me weaponizing my ADHD. But on the table, it's quite bad, because I get like that screen of 1,000 different equations run past my head, and then I pick the wrong one.
Well, yeah, it's I mean, good on you for taking neuroatypical and turn it to your advantage. But I mean, all the smartest people in the world are somewhere like that.
They're
like I said, I ran nuclear power plants for 20 years, and I'm telling you, none of us were normal. So it takes a special type of person to do that, and you can take that and really definitely turn it. I said, your ability to process information and look at all these things, and just with some discipline, you can focus it down.
Thank you. That's another thing that I need to get good at, especially CP discipline. Like, most of my lists don't start with all that many, and usually they don't make it through turn 2. Those CP.
I father said, turn 2, like, move forward, blow the weapons of the Dark Age, blow everything, dump 6 CP in my Alpha Strike against Orc buggies, and let's see if I can, do enough damage to hold this off. Yeah, that was my last tournament. Was only game I lost was against Orc buggies, and I'd never played the list before. But God, that list is dead.
My CP, my CP discipline issue is getting the Red-Wing bikes into combat, interrupting so that I can fall them back out of combat, and just dropping 4 points on a small squad of bikes. every game, or doing it with Samael or a Talon Master or something like that, and that just messes me up big time.
That's fair. It really does. When you drop those CP and it doesn't pay off, it's a real feel bad. Or you know the only way to stay alive in the game is to get off just the premium status grenade. You're like, I'm paying 2 CP to roll this 1 dice on a 2/3 chance, and you fail it. And you're like, I'm going to pay another CP to re-roll this dice on a 1/3 chance, and you fail it. And you're like, well, F me, I guess.
Yeah. The stasis grenade is the like I said, when we did our initial review in the Codex, we said I think this is going to be like one of the premier tactics in this book is figuring out when and where to use this. And I said 2 CP on a 66% chance. That's tough.
I just wish there was a 2+ ballistic skill unit we could put it on. Like that could take a grenade launcher. But nobody's got BS 2+. It's all 3+ guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're thinking ahead of turn and you have your Ravenwing Apothecary who doesn't move, then he's ballistic skill 2.
Yay! You gotta line that
but
up.
It's So or if you have your Chapter Master that can put a character reroll on him.
Yeah.
So, that's it.
Or you gotta.
There's a lot of different options. You just gotta. Yeah, you can just prioritize. Or the land speeder. Land speeders.
If you want to spend some more CP? Yeah, use your land speeder.
It's like maybe 5 CP into this one thing.
Yeah, boy.
Or the Dark Talon flies over him, but then you gotta have a Dark Talon.
Yeah,
they just get aced.
I don't hate a Dark Talon at the moment. They're not amazing, but I don't hate them.
They're fun.
With their points drop in the most recent chapter approved. Yeah, listen. I was thinking 2 of them might be cool, but every time I write that list, I'm like, there's nowhere near enough weapons in this unit or in this army.
You want me to throw a list that I dream of running one day?
Go for it.
Sure, let's hear
it. It's a double Outrider. This is an Adam special. If anybody can run this, you're gonna have a good time. So first Outrider is a Captain on Black with brilliant strategist Teeth of Terror. 5 Black Knights. The Ravenwing Champ. He's got a Relic of the Repentant, because I think this list was when Crusher was in its heyday, but also with the Custodes, I think still Relic of the Repentance. Relic of the Repentance better.
Yeah, and also probably Eldar.
Agreed.
Avatars. Yep.
3x3 Ravenwing Blacks, just with chainswords. 3 cheapest chips land speeders with a multi-melter each. That's it. Just 3, singles. Talon Master. 1 land speeder Vengeance, 3 storm speeder thunder strikes. You can use hammer strikes if you want, and 2 dark talons. So that's 3 units of blacks, 6-7 speeders total. 3 of those. So those who don't know, the hammer strike is the one with the las talon. So it's got 2 las cannon shots, but it's got ballistic skill 2+ base.
And that's the one that hits on 2s.
Yeah. So you scoot around. You sit at the backboard with your Vengeance, and you just go whoop 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 whoop. Just scoot along your backboard, and just pick stuff up while your bike's gonna play the middle, and the dark talons just be a nuisance. It's got a lot of gun. I'm not sure how durable it is, but I think it'll be fun as hell.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, and it sounds like you could actually get
I
Death
like
on the
it.
Wind finally.
Yeah, there's not a lot of core.
It's a Death on the Wind, engage North fronts or behind enemy lines. One of the things I love to do is take behind enemy lines and hide it. Pay a CP to hide it. Don't let people know, because a lot of the time I'll get 2 land speeders into, like, you play Dawn of War and their whole army's on one side of the thing. I've got 2 land speeders in their back line. Then I flip over behind enemy lines and like, haha, sucker, free strat. Yeah, definitely would have stopped me.
I wanna. Yeah, let's jump on that for a second. When do you think? Are there any other situations where you think that that the secret stratagem or the secret secondary is a good play? Because the traditional wisdom is assassinate or to the last.
Yeah. So there's also, I think, although is no prisoners is hidden, is tallied at the end, I think. It might not be anymore. Because they're giving you the bonus points. So it's 2 philosophies. Either you want to pick something that doesn't get scored until the end of the game, or you want to pick something that the first time you score it gives you the most return for the reveal. Hence why I like behind enemy lines, because it scores you 4 points on the flip up. And then it scores you subsequent, usually every time I've hidden behind enemy lines, I've scored it minimum of twice, because I'll flip it up once, and I'll only flip it up when I know I'm going to get a second turn of scoring out of it. So it always gets me 8 points at a minimum. them because they're not in a position to respond to me the turn where I've gone and gotten the first time. The other one is I'm actually considering doing it for Investigate Signal now or Warp Ritual when I'm hiding that triple combo, because I want people to think I'm either Stubborn Defianced
or Oath of Moment.
Or Oath of Moment. And so you can hide either one of those to go along with the combo. But it's also really cool to hide things like banners, to hide a Stranglehold as well, because people will look at your arm and be like, he's just going to sit there on his side of the board and do nothing, and they'll prep to come and stop you, and then you're like, ha, Stranglehold, and you go get him. But the condition...
Yep. Okay, so that is okay. Yeah, I think the conventional wisdom is assassination like that. But so you're taking it and saying, okay, I'm going to use this to create an asymmetry in information.
Correct.
That I'm going to maximize to my opponent. So maybe they deploy one way, or mentally they're geared towards, okay, I have to go over here, knock these guys off this objective. When you say, nope, I'm coming to you, let's go.
Yep, that's how I do it.
Okay, so how has that reveal worked for you in the past? Just in terms of what your opponent's response is.
So it's really good. So I'll give you an example. I played on the Dice Hammer channel. I play on their Twitch YouTube channel. I think that game was only for Patreon subscribers. So he was playing mono Slanesh Demons into my Dark Angels, and first turn I shot up. I double moved a unit of Ravenwing Bikes, and then I moved up my my Chaplain, charged a unit of 4 Fiends, killed 3 of them, bounced out, flipped up behind enemy lines. Because on turn 1 I slung both units into there because they both moved like freaking 30 inches. And then he looked at me because he had gone first and pushed all his keepers up into my face, and I just killed the strongest unit he had on that flank and then put 2 units in his backfield, and the only thing he had there to respond to me was Demonettes. So either he lets me get 15 points or he turns around a minimum of 1 greater demon to come and stop me. Still might not stop me because that Chaplain was a super smash Chaplain with the 4 damage, which can go kill a greater demon. Like, you can't just believe that he's going to turn around a keeper that wasn't going to get the charge that turn to stop me, and so he just let me out to 15 points. And so that put a huge amount of pressure on him.
Interesting. Okay.
Turn
yeah,
1,
that's really good.
When that's kind of the best example because he's not a shooting army. He can't just deep strike something or pull on something from reserve to stop me. That's the best example I'll probably ever have. But what you want to do is either, like you said, create a disparity in knowledge or create pressure. Now, you can create pressure either by the sword.
So that's interesting because
being like, oh my god, what did he pick? I don't know what it is. Yeah, what did he pick? I don't know what he is. I don't know if I am ahead or I am behind because I don't know what the hidden one is. Either that or, like I said, you just pick something that's going to smash him on the scoreboard or her and be like, oh my god, I need to scramble to deny, to stop, to do more than I thought I had to.
So I think the situation where you pull that out is you say, okay, this is going to be most effective in a Dawn of War deployment, so it's long edge to long edge. Yep. On an army that doesn't have a lot of shooting, so I'm going to be able to use my mobility and leverage my mobility to the maximum effort, and my opponent's not going to have the ability. Okay, so as I said, you're creating a mental model where you say, okay, in this situation, this is a very good, valuable play, right? I'm going to get a lot of return. Yep. This 1 CP could potentially return me, almost guarantee me 8 to 12 points.
Exactly right, yeah.
Okay.
And look, maybe I don't know what people put a price on their CP as, but CP are there to be spent. And anytime you can you can turn CP into points on the board, you should every single time.
Yep. It's all about the resource conversion ratio. Like CP are a resource, points are a resource, units are a resource.
Yep.
How am I converting those into the tally, right? My victory points. It's all about scoring the victory point. Okay.
Okay, so I just want to...
So how are we doing on time?
Well, I was just going to point that out that we kind of talked about maybe going for an hour. We're getting pretty close to that. So we've been talking about what the lists are, and it seems like your lists are pretty fluid at the moment. Adam, I know mine are, and I know Heath's talking about getting ready to go to a tournament. So I want to throw something at you guys that I just been going in my head for a week since I just played a tournament. Think about how our chapter tactic works with Fight's last abilities and Dark Angel's access to Fight's last abilities. And the way it interacts now with what we're going to see with Banshees coming into the meta and a lot of the other Eldar units that really want to go first to do things, plus strikes first in other areas. And when Chaos comes out, you're going to see it with the Slanesh Chaos units. Right? What Dark Angels really want you to do with, say, Thunderhammer Storm Shields is they want you to charge the Thunderhammers So we get the +1 to hit to negate our -1 to hit, so our Thunderhammers hit at normal weapon skill, right? The problem with that is that requires us to survive, and sometimes we can't survive. If something hits you with enough dice, aka Corn Berserkers with chainswords, or right, you just pick up the Terminators. Doesn't matter how many there are, they're there.
Witches. Or,
they're just going to pick them up.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to make them fight after you do, but you need them to charge you first. Because if you charge them, now you're hitting on 4s, and then you have to spend CP, and things can get messy, and then they can spend CP to knock you back. But if you receive the charge, right, make them fight last, then you're going to get I think you're going to start seeing the most out of a Dark Angels list, because Dark Angels are a counter-attacking army, at least in close combat from what I've seen. That's sort of my area of play. And so looking at this, you have a spell coming off Ezekiel, right? Mind Wipe's, I think, the one, or Mind Worm's the first one on the list. Makes things fight last. Eye of the Unseen is a relic that goes on a character that makes a character in engagement range fight last. And then the thing that made me pull my Judicar or Judiciar out of a box and try and finish paintings was that he does it too. And with the advent of Eldar coming out, right, and their ability to deny spells, Ezekiel does have +1 to cast, but if once someone's figured out this is what you're trying to do, they're going to try and deny that every time and pull out tricks on that. But having things that you can't deny do that for you are good. And then I think there was a couple other things. I know Champions...
Don't forget the Colexus Assassin.
Yeah.
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 So having these kinds of things in your list, I think, going forward is going to be really important.
Well, to your point, I think I can't remember if Kyria Draxus is a Psyker. If she's a Psyker, she could take the place of Ezekiel, or be taken in addition to Ezekiel, and both of them offer you a fights last opportunity, because she has her grenades she throws, if she hits you, your fights last. So yeah, dude, we have the ability to stack that. Do we have a 6-inch heroic intervention baller trait? I feel like we do.
Yes.
Man, I don't.
There is one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Makes the Judicar a lot better.
Yeah, it's hard to get away from. I've done that on Talon Masters, like make a chop Talon Master with Heavenfall Blade and the 6-inch heroic intervention, the honor of the lion or something. Here, but yeah, so 6-inch heroic intervention makes, because the problem with fight last is someone who's competent in the fight phase. You can pile in to just avoid it, right? You charge in such a way you pile in to avoid it. But you need a 6-inch heroic intervention to really make it viable. But a Judicar with that could be.
It's just that
honor the First Legion. Yeah, 6-inch heroic intervention.
Yeah, honor.
The problem is that then that messes up the Vanguard detachments and the Outrider detachments. So you got to start running a more Green Wing list, and that's not what people are doing. So you really got to think about what you're doing when you make this decision. But I think that's where you're going to start to see some of the heat, and that's where maybe you see Rights of War on a character more often, because it's like, well, if you take that, you don't have to worry about the Vanguard or the Outrider. You just put it on a Talon Master, and he gives it to everything that needs it.
I'm actually coming around to Green Wing a lot more in the current game. I'm finding we just don't have enough stuff. We need more stuff, and stuff that's dynamic. We're a little bit too slow. Get caught flat-footed a lot with our Terminator units. I'm still taking Terminator units, but I've started to look at, like I said, a unit of 10 intercessors, possibly infiltrators as well. Because of course, infiltrators. I need to get a ruling on this. It may just be the thing we need to shut down things like the webway. If they turn off the webway, you can't come out of the webway anymore. That thing is huge.
Interesting.
So,
I'm
also looking at, of course, Inceptors and Eradicators. Never going to be bad picks for us, especially with Ezekiel. I've also started looking at things like Aggressors again. Now, this is a little bit awkward. The only reason I'm really looking at them is because, once again, the Auspex scan might become a big deal, and of course you have to be within 12 to Auspex scan anyway, and the Flamers are just within 12 inches, so, much of a muchness, makes sense. And so, but the bolters work just fine as well, and with there's a little bit less of the -1 damage out there. The fists don't feel as bad, because of course they're strength 8, so they smash Talos, they smash Kronos, no problems. You don't get Master Artists.
The Eradicators, that is, right?
No,
the Eradicators, that is, right? They're close combat. They're fists. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking range. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't feel awful about them at the moment. I'm just not sure they're good. Like, I'm not sure they're good, but I don't feel terrible anymore.
Yeah, I had like 10 of them back in 8th edition when they double shot and when they didn't move.
Yeah,
but they haven't been off my shelf since then.
The biggest kicker for us is the fact that there's so much rend in the game that the only thing armor saves do not matter. There's so much rend, might as well not have a save unless you can have a 4+ invulnerable save, which we get just by bringing Azrael. As soon as you take these units and give them a 4+ invuln, and they're also getting reroll wants to hit and whatnot, they get a whole new lease on life. And because you don't get the armor saves on units don't matter, like that just means that invulnerable save is 2 times as important, 3 times as important.
Excellent.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you there. Azrael puts you into one's very specific build, which is the shooting castle almost.
Yeah, I think so. Not necessarily, like I said. Like I think aggressors give you that punch back, but I do think it's mostly a shooting unit, mostly a shooting army. Sorry. I did have once again, I tried to make an MSU build that was playing a Vanguard and an Outrider, and I was trying to take 3 units of 5 Blade Guard vets because they're 175 for 3 units of 5, and therefore you can take a couple of Talon Masters and have them be your 2 the lasts because they're also 175, and that worked out quite well. Except that as soon as Crusher Stampede came out, Hive Guard and stuff, the Blade Guard just explode. Like they just didn't do much. Orcs were doing the same thing to them as well. The Blade Guard just didn't hold up.
Yeah, they need rerolls. Yeah, they need rerolls bad.
It's true.
Yeah. And to make the Blade Guard survive, they need the Apothecary, they need the -1 damage. And in that case, they just shift to shooting another unit. But wait, so with Eldar coming out like basically this weekend, next codex is Tyranids. Do you think that the new Tyranid codex is going to make Crusher go up, down, sideways? What's your feel on that?
The assumption right now is Crusher Stampede will not exist in the new book. Like many other previous publications, they usually get invalidated as soon as the next codex comes out. That's only an assumption by top players, because the assumption is the only reason Crusher Stampede isn't the best thing in the game is because the data sheets that are on that those rules apply to are garbage. They're real bad data sheets. The only good data sheet there is the Dimacheron. Everything else is bad to crap house. Like you talk about a Hari Specs or a Hive Tyrant, the data sheet, their stat lines are horrific compared to by 9th edition standards.
Because they're still 8th edition books.
Yeah, as soon as they get good data sheets, if they still get those rules with good data sheets, the game will end. The game will be over. It will be.
I hope that is realized. Yeah.
Yeah. The assumption is Crusher will no longer exist with the new codex, but I expect big things from this book. I expect us to see hordes come back, which is another reason I think people should be ready to revisit aggressors and intercessors, because they're going to be very good if horde comes back. Especially they're quite good. Both those 2 units I just listed are very good at picking up any Eldar body that you can think of. Even like. Not horrific into Wraith constructs, because a lot of those things don't have a 2+ save. Shooting assault bolters, double shooting assault bolters with rend 1 into in tactical doctrine into 3+ armor save, toughness 6. Who gives a crap? I'm still going to win on 5s. I'll get enough through to kill half your 5-man, and then I don't have to stress anymore. So that kind of stuff. Be ready to revisit those green wing elements, because I think they might come back. Or start slapping more storm bolters on your Terminators. Maybe we'll see 5 Thunderhammer Storm Shields, 5 storm bolters now, or maybe we'll see assault cannons come back. Who knows? But yeah, I feel like we're going to see hordes again. We'll see a lot of medium bugs, because if what G-Dub has done in the past is anything to go by, the worst couple of things in the Tyranid book are going to be the best things in the new book. That'll be things like Tyranid Warriors, Raveners, Shrikes. I can't remember if they're in the book. They might be legended. Tyrant Guard, these multi-wound medium bugs. Okay,
Harpies, maybe something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, these multi-wound medium bugs have been garbage forever. Okay. So expect them to be
a long time. Yeah.
And possibly
Tyranid Warriors have been a joke since like 5th edition.
Oh, dude, it's been horrible for them. Yeah. So I'm ready for them to be amazing. And if they're amazing, yeah.
Well, Aspect Warriors have been a joke since 3rd edition as well.
Exactly.
And they are fire. Fire.
What's the best? What was the crappiest? What was the unit you never saw in Custodes before? You never saw Wardens. What's a one of in every list now? It's a unit of Wardens. Because that's what G-Dub does. They look at the crappiest thing in the book and they try and make it possibly one of the best. And so on that logic, look for a lot of medium bugs coming out of Tyranids. But that's just purely a speculation.
Nice.
Okay.
Well, gentlemen, we're over an hour here.
I said, yeah. So unless you, Adam, you got anything else you want to comment on specifically?
No. Thank you so much for having me on, guys. Come check me out. I don't know where this blog/vlog is going to be hosted yet. I've got a couple of different options, and I'm still sussing out the format. It'll kind of coalesce over the next kind of week or so. I'll be doing my first event in 6 months is going to be Adepticon. That's if I'm not asked to stream. If I'm asked to stream or help with the stream, I'll be dropping to do that. But if all goes well, I'll be playing at Adepticon with my first press Dark Angels list. You can expect an episode of whatever my blog, vlog, whatever it is to come out, either to be one pre, going over what my list is, why I took it, what my expectations are, talking about a bit of psychology of the event, and then I'll do a post, how I did, what went wrong, what went well, blah, 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 blah.
Well, we'd love to have you on again sometime in the future. Let's get to help maybe continue to feel out this journey of yours and see how things are evolving.
Would be my pleasure, boys.
And at a minimum, at Adepticon, I'll buy you a beer. If you don't have time for anything else, I'll find you and I'll buy you a beer because I'm going to be there.
Fantastic, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to this very special episode of the Path to Redemption with Adam Camilleri. This is, of course, the Path to Redemption, the Dark Angels podcast. Please subscribe, like, and comment below if you're watching us on YouTube or if you're listening to us on your preferred podcasting service. And last but not least, we'd like to thank Purple Planet for the use of their music. And until next time, I'm Bailey from Dank Wargaming.
And it's Heath with Table War Hawaii.
Stay loyal, Angels.
And I'm Adam. Bye.